Hello everybody, good day to you and welcome back to the channel. Glad you guys are here. This is a 2010 Chevrolet Tahoe with 5.3 liter. I believe it's a two-wheel drive. It returns to us for a series of performance upgrades, which we will continue right about now. So stay tuned, because this is going to be a super cool video. Opening the hood.
Oh, look who that guy is.
What once was black is now gray. Oh yeah. Paint to match, it's gonna be beautiful. This right here is a dual gauge pod from Autometer. We are continuing the performance upgrade series on our 2010 Chevrolet Tahoe with 5.3 liter. The last time we saw this vehicle, we installed the Banks Ram Air intake system with the ginormous filter and custom bent tubing for higher airflows and more horsepowers, of course. Now, some of you may have noticed that saw the installation video, there was a bit of an air gap between the inlet hole in the fender well and the inlet, or the outlet hole in the fender well, and the inlet in the airbox. And since this is an AC service vehicle, the AC technicians that operate and own it used their skill set to create a barrier for the warm air between the intake box and the fender. We've got this this bit of foamy insulation stuff right here, and we managed to shove that stuff in there. Well, I didn't, he did, the guy that owns it. Got that in there and closed up that little gap that several of us had noticed, and now he has reported he's achieved even better performance and was able to prove that with some thermometers and his scanning device connected to the OBD2 connector. Anyway, that's what we're doing today. Today we're continuing the Banks Products upgrade package on this truck, and as I mentioned, we've got the dual gauge pillar set up over yonder, and we're going to install that after the paint dries here on the driver's side, and it is going to receive a pair of Banks iDashes and a Pedal Monster throttle controller. Now, don't go getting your whitey tighties all twisted up because I'm installing some gauges and some performance parts. Just because you may not like such things and you choose to not modify your vehicle doesn't mean other people can't enjoy some of the finer things in life. So no hate on the fact that we're doing something a little bit extra here or something a little bit different. That's just the way that it is. Don't get mad at me. I didn't have to make this video, and you don't have to watch this video. But if you do watch this video, please consider tapping that like and subscribe button before we get started. Let's get going. So before I start unpacking all the good stuff, let's drop that thing on the floor. Let's get this A-pillar cover disconnected here and get down into the meat of this unit. Oh, the screw's not even there. Cool. Looks like I can just pop it off and that's that. A little bit easier. What I need to do here is make sure we preserve the aftermarket audio accessories, and I've got to disconnect and remove the Bose speaker. It's a little tweeter right here on the A-pillar. I've got to remove that because this one needs to be transferred over to the new pillar that contains the gauge pods. So let's get this guy disconnected here. Now that flashlight didn't last long. Dang. Lights out. New battery! And I say, let there be light. There we go. Now we have some illuminators. So as I was saying, I need to transfer this speaker and speaker cover over to that replacement unit, and a replacement unit made by Autometer, who's known for making aftermarket gauges. That unit has the cutouts and the provisions to install this factory audio component here. I just need to figure out how to get this out without breakages. I think we've got a little tab here. Tab that guy out. This might just be for the cover. I have not done this installation on this model of vehicle just yet. Yep, that's good to go. So now the question is can I get away with painting this or not? You know what? Check it out. I can paint it, because if I were to remove those little pins, I can pull this Bose emblem off. Oh yeah, this is going to be super nice when we're all said and done here. Bear with me. We'll pull that Bose emblem off, save that for later, and now I can get some spray on this tweeter cover right here and paint that to match the Pilar as well. Yes. And I'm almost out of paint, so this better make this count. So I think this is going to be the last of it. There we go. Super duper pretty. Making sure I get the edges too. Those are always the hard parts to get with your old rattle can. Nice. So while the paint's been over there drying, I've taken the liberty of unboxing the goods here. So like I mentioned, we're installing two Banks Performance iDash gauge systems in the Pilar right there. So I've got the primary here, and then the add-on secondary here, which comes with the Y splitter to splice them all together. The primary unit comes with the cable that plugs into the OBD2 connector, and these devices will read the data from the vehicle's ECM and then display it in a user-friendly package as a customizable gauge screen with I think up to 6 screens is what each of these individual units will do. Now these are going to work in conjunction with this component here, which is called the Banks Pedal Monster. And what this is a programmable and controllable throttle gain controller. So basically what we get out of it is it will make your throttle curve electronically operate faster and steeper to give you a snappier and more responsive throttle, increasing the performance feel of the vehicle. It doesn't add horsepower, but it lets you tap into your horsepower faster and on demand, and it can be dialed in, the sensitivity can be dialed in up or down when used in conjunction with the Banks iDash. If one only wanted to have the throttle controller and did not want to install the Banks iDash gauges, these things are also controllable through Bluetooth through an app on your cell phone. So there's more than one way to access the features of this unit without having to add additional components to the vehicle. Pretty cool stuff, great engineering. Now the installation of these components is actually going to be quite simple and fairly straightforward. The first thing we need to do here is get the gauges mounted into the pillars. Now again, this is the primary one. I prefer that the primary one be closest to the driver, so we're going to put this one here in the bottom slot, and then we'll put the secondary unit up in the top slot. Let's get these things fitted in, and I'm making an attempt to do this without scratching up my brand new paint job here. So looky here. In fitting the gauge in, due to this little bit of lip on the outside of the gauge here, I managed to scratch some of my freshly painted paint right in there. So what I'll have to do is mask this off and then hit it one more time with the paint to touch it up. I now know that I should have fit these gauges in before painting this assembly, but I guess that's a moot point at this point, and well, I learned the hard way. So let's get the next one set up in there. I might have to trim this one out a little bit. It doesn't seem to want to fit very well on this top post. You can see the reason that I scraped off the paint on this side is as I try to fit that in, this protrusion on the gauge is starting to interfere with this thing's ability to slide into that hole. So I think what I'm going to do here is, yeah, look, I'm scratching it right now. I think what I'll do is take a Dremel and I'm going to widen this hole just a slight bit, and then I think on this top side right here and right here I'm going to have to make a little bit of a cutout to accommodate the width of the gauge. It's just slightly too small. Now keep in mind, this is not a Banks gauge pillar. They do not produce one yet for the Tahoes because of this Bose speaker system here. And like I said earlier, I got this from Autometer. And Autometer makes their own gauges, so I imagine that these pods are designed to fit Autometer's external measurements and not so much someone else's. So this is definitely the kind of thing you run into when you do custom and aftermarket installs. Regardless, we're gonna get it right, so I'm gonna bust out the Dremel and we're gonna shave some of this area down right here and I think right here in order to fit this gauge properly inside of the gauge pod. Beginning loud grinding noises now. Yeah, we're just gonna take off a little bit to help this thing fit. Getting a little rough right there. More speed. There we go. Now I've got the feel for it. It's all in the grip. Okay, let's see if we can make this thing fit without destroying everything that I'm trying to put together here. Yeah, look, see how that one, see how it's kind of running a little bit sideways at an angle? The molding on the pod right here on these corners is starting to interfere, and it's causing this to go in slightly sideways. So what I'm gonna do is we'll come in here and kind of Dremel that out a little bit and give a recess for the lip on the gauge to fit into. So I just got a delivery from O'Reilly's. They sent me some brake parts cleaner, and it was actually a viewer that sent it. So huge shout out and thank you to James Wolfgang from Texas. He bought me a can of brake clean, or a case of brake clean. Did it long range from a whole nother time zone, called my store over here, and then had them deliver it. So that's really cool. Muchas gracias, senor. I appreciate that. Now, let's get back to grinding away at our brand new components. So what I imagine here is that the lip on this gauge is interfering and contacting right here on these corners. So I'm just gonna cut those little corners out and give some relief for that gauge to fit. The other side went in, you know, no issue. I mean, I did have to force it, but this one here is a little bit tighter. So we're just gonna grind it. This is scary. If I slip up, it's all ruined. And I don't want to make my customer have to wait for me to order another one of these. Got to do this right. Get in there nice and deep like. There we go. I hope that last cut wasn't too much. You gonna fit? Oh, is it working? Kind of. I need to go a little deeper on that corner and a little deeper right here on that corner. I see the indent that the gauge just left in 2 spots. One more time. I think that's good. Is it gonna fit? And is it gonna fit flush? Yes, it is. Now we're cooking, folks. That's upside down, but it fits and it's in. Very, very good. I like it. Okay, so here comes the really important part. I need to fix my surface blemishes that I had just created. So what I shall do here is we're gonna mask off these gauges. They're gonna stay in position, and I'm just gonna come by with some paint one more time and give this one quick blast with the remainder of my spray can, and it'll cover up those scratches that we put into the surfaces here and here, because we just cannot have cosmetic defects on our custom performance products. A little bit of paint tape right here. There we go. Good. Speaking of performance products, by the way, I do have to interject my moment of shameless self-promotion and remind you guys that should you decide you'd like to indulge in such products for your vehicle, that you may peruse them and or purchase them by using the link down inside of my video's description. As many of you guys know, I am an affiliate dealer with many of the products that I sell, and Banks Products is one of them. Which is why I'm doing such things, because I installed this stuff. Because that's what my business is about. And you don't get to be mad at me for that just because you don't like it. Leave the trolls alone. I can't. They're people too, and they need to be corrected from time to time. There. I realize I could be masking this a little bit better, but it's just spray paint. What's important is I'm not going to be painting my gauges. Need some in that corner right there. I missed the spot. Right there. That's good. Just fold that back. Okay, looking good in the neighborhood on the paint front. Let me hit this with the rattle can one more time, and then we can secure these gauges and get them plugged in. We'll route the wires and then get everything connected to the accelerator pedal with the pedal monster and with the OBD2 connector in the iDash box. Oh yeah, I'm down to the last of it here. Let's make it count. Give it a blend so I don't have zebra stripes in it. Unanimous. There, it's like it never happened. Woohoo! Okay, now I may impatiently pull my tape to reveal a nice clean install. There we go. Oh, look at that. Good, good, good. I got a little bit of overspray on the gauge right there. Not on the face, but right up there in the corner. A little bit of overspray. I'll live with it. Not everything can be perfect. So, let that sit right there for the time being. And I need to get the Bose speaker installed in its cutout right there. Okay, so speaker's coming in. I've got the little Bose emblem here. We're gonna push that guy through, and then all I've got to do is bend the little tabs back down, and that secures the emblem. And we should just snap this thing right into place here. How's the fitment? Do I have to grind this away as well? I don't want to grind it. Tell me no. Tell me I don't have to. I might. There's a little tab. A little tab right here that's blocking me, and I'm gonna cut it off. How about now? Are we gonna fit? A little bit more. I need more grinding. This section right there, that needs to come down about a 1/16 of an inch. Yeah, one thing about grinding on plastic is it actually just tends to melt, and then it re-hardens and you gotta pick it off. It doesn't just flake away like metal would, or even wood for that matter. I use the word wood with two different definitions in the same sentence. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? There we go. Speaker cover, or speaker tweeter is installed. That's looking good. Okay, so the way that this is going to wire up electronically is we've got our power/data line. It is a 4-pin connector, 4-wire. This is going to plug into the vehicle's OBD2 connector down under the dash. Then we route the wire up and into the A-pillar, which is the component this thing covers up. We'll route the wire up and plug it into the splitter, and then it will just simply plug into the secondary iDash. Okay, so using the supplied Y splitter cable, we need to connect the two iDash units. So we're going to be using the 6-pin connectors. There's a 6-pin and a 4-pin on the back of each one of these gauge clusters. We're going to connect these guys with our 6-pin. They're kind of tough to line up, but once you got them, and then you're good. So the 6-pin goes in, and then we just take the other end of our Y splitter and bring that up, connect it to our second 6-pin. Snap this guy in. There we go. And you give it a tug to make sure it's secured, both sides. There's also here a provision to add another unit by way of either another Y splitter or an extension cord. We will not need to utilize this feature on this particular cable, so I can just tuck this guy in and stash it out of the way. Okay, we're done with the gauges for the time being. Let's take the pedal monster, head over to the vehicle, and get this unit installed, plugged in, and secured, and then we can complete the wiring with the entire system. Very, very easy, very straightforward. This is a very, very simple installation. We're basically unplugging the accelerator pedal. This is going to go into the plug side, that's going to go into the harness side, and then we just secure this guy somewhere under the dash with zip ties, and then run our cable from the 6-pin connector on the pedal monster up to the iDash. So what we're looking for here, under the dash, we can see our accelerator pedal. It's no longer cable driven, it's all electronic. There's a potentiometer inside of this pedal, and that's what produces feedback voltage to the ECM to determine what your driver input is. So what we do is unclip this connector here, which it's being a little stubborn. Come here, connector. Come out. There we go. And we will take our connectors on our pedal monster and plug these guys in line. Snap that one in there. And then this next connector plugs in like so. right there. Snap that guy in. So now we grab some zip ties and figure out a good place to secure this module. And of course we have to clean the wires up so we don't have a bunch of wires dangling around where your feet are trying to actuate and control the vehicle. So what I'm thinking, and I believe where I mounted mine was, I want to say right to that vent, or maybe bottom of the BCM right here. That's kind of a good spot, but it's also, it can be sort of a cumbersome spot to mount this. Like I said, you don't want to have a bunch of stuff sticking out like at your feet and getting you all tied up. But I'm thinking, yeah, I'd rather not use the HVAC vent. It's a little loose. Yeah, I think I'll mount it to the BCM right here. Alrighty, zip ties coming in. So what I did is I took the cable, I looped it around that HVAC duct twice just to take up the slack in the cable. And now I'm just gonna zip tie this unit to the plastic case that is shrouding the BCM, and that will secure it out of sight and out of mind, because we don't really need to touch it after our initial installation here. It's got little slots in the side of it to accommodate the supplied zip ties. There we go, tighten that up. That's not going anywhere, but I have extra zip ties, so I will add additional support. You know what they say, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So I'll just run 2. And that's just because I don't have a place for 3. Snip that off. Now, normally we'd be good, but we have the connectors here. The added in connectors. And I've got 1 extra zip tie. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just zip tie these things together so that they're parallel to each other and that they look good. Because I like it when things look good, even though you may never see them, they should still look good. Point this thing the right direction. There we go. A little tighter. There. Cut that guy off. Beautiful. So now the wires are all out of the way. They can't fall down. They're not going to be in the way of the driver. The pedal monster is installed. It's not in the way of the driver. Now we just need to set up the wiring connectors for the power supply up to the iDashes, which is also going to power the pedal monster. Now, you see here we've got this, it's called a blue driver device. And this thing was plugged into the OBD2 connector. We can install a splitter device on these OBD2s. That way, if you want to run your GPS or your diagnostic software and you do not want to disconnect your iDash, you'll be able to split that and plug in both devices at the same time. It will require extra zip ties to button all that stuff up, but it can be done. All right, backing out a little bit, we need to create or figure out where these wires are going to run to, so I need to pull this side panel off. We'll set that guy aside. We've got 2 wires to run up. We've got the extension cable from the pedal monster, which is a 6-pin. That one is going to plug into the Y splitter, and if we only had 1 iDash, it would plug into the 6-pin on the back of the iDash. And again, the 4-pin is our power and communication wire, and that's going to plug into the 4-pin on the back of our first/primary iDash. I think they're both the same part number. Some of them are data loggers, some of them are read-only. Check your specific vehicle's applications on bankspower.com to see what options are available for your vehicle. So I will start with the extension cord because that's the shortest, easiest, and it's going to finish off the install on the pedal monster. Now you'll notice on the end of the pedal monster there's two 6-pin connectors. It does not matter which one you use. So naturally we want to hide as many of these wires as we can. So we're just going to run this one kind of right through that hole right there, and or should come out on the other side right there. What I'll do, come here you, is we'll pull that through some. We'll get it plugged in to our pedal monster like so, and I'll probably install, we'll give some slack to it, and I'll zip tie this on right here. That way we don't have any like sharp angles or things pulling on our cable system. So we can run this cable up. We'll stash it behind the dash right here so it comes up with the rest of the cables in the A-pillar. Hide that in very nicely, just tuck it in. And we'll do the same thing with our power cord right here. Ideally, I want to run both of these cables right next to each other. So this one, we're going to follow it up, and I'm going to poke it through that same hole that my first cable is running through. It's going to be tough for us to see. We're in a low light condition with a minimal space. Yeah, there's that cable. Come on now, come on through the hole. Wiggle it and push it, shove it in right there. There we go, there's our cable. Oop, it went back. Pull that guy through, and we can go ahead and plug it in to the OBD2 connector, like so. Again, I'm also going to leave a little bit of slack, so when I zip tie this cable to that cable, I'll also leave a space for a power cable as well. So I'll zip tie them both in like right here. Yeah, tuck that in. Yep, about just like that. Okay. So now this one, same thing. We're going to run it up behind this little section of the dash here. Shove that guy through. Now we can connect both ends to our gauge pillar system. Yeah, this is my favorite part. That's when it all starts to come together. So the power cable is the longest one. We're gonna plug you in first. Oh, you guys can't see. My hairy mitts were in the way here. Get that guy lined up. Come on now, snap in. There we go. That's fully plugged in and seated. Then we shall take our extension cord that runs to the pedal monster, and this guy will get plugged into the 6-way, little 6-way Y splitter, just like so. Let's get the speaker wire out of the way here. All right, very good. I need to go fetch some zip ties to clean up the routing of all these wires, and then we'll get this pillar fitted to the A-pillar. So the more detail-oriented amongst you will appreciate this. What I've done is I've zip tied and routed and collected these two wires together, which, by the way, I'd like to take note on how the Banks wires are flat in shape, and they're able to be run with and next to each other, and it's a nice clean looking install. So what I've done is zip tied all these guys together. The wire that was extra long, I put a loop in it real quick, and then I can take that loop and just kind of stick it in there and put the cover back on. That way we don't have wires just running all willy-nilly all over the place in a disorganized fashion. So I made an attempt to clean that up and get it as organized as possible so that the installation will be nice and clean and pretty, because we like clean installs. Okay, so I'm pulling up the that speaker that we found installed previously. I'm just going to put that in its position up here at the top of this pillar cover. Down at the bottom, I need to plug in the tweeter, because we went through all that work to get the tweeter in. we can't leave it disconnected, can we? So we'll get that guy snapped into place. Put the wires back behind the dash where they belong. I had pulled them out to zip tie them together. Drop that back behind the weather stripping. And all we need to do is slide this pillar into position. It's got a tab at the bottom that fits into a slot in the dash. This is the real moment of truth. How is the fitment on this aftermarket gauge pod? That went in quite nicely, actually. Here at the top, I'm just trying to figure out how to get this speaker maybe up there. It's a good spot for it. Okay. All right. So now we'll take the screw that came with the gauge pillar, use this guy to screw it in to the factory screw location up here at the top, and this thing should be good to go. So here, put the screw in, and I can still see, the threaded area that's supposed to line up. So I'm just going to get that lined in position there. Screw it in by hand as far as we can. Get that thing in position there. It's a good spot for it. Draw this in, tighten it up, and voila, our gauge pillar is installed. Now, you may notice that the gauges are kind of pointed sideways. So all we need to do is take these guys, rotate them slightly, and orient them vertically. Let's make them lined up perfectly. Like, I don't have a level, but I do have a fairly decently calibrated micrometer, and we're gonna use that. That's straight, ish, a little bit more there, straight. Yeah, this one's about 1.2 degrees off. There we go. Now we're looking good. Okay, moment of truth. Let's key this thing on and power this unit up and see what our gauges look like. Then we can program them, set up the controls for the pedal monster, and we'll take this thing out on the road. Beginning engine starting sequence now. Ooh, they're coming alive. Super gauge, they're both powered up. Gauge setup, please enter engine size. So yeah, now it wants us to go through the setup procedures. See how one gauge prompted it, but the second one didn't? That means this is our master gauge, and this one here is our slave gauge. So it wants to know our engine displacement in liters. So it's gonna be 5.3. 5.3, there we go. Engine displacement. Back out of that. So now we need to set up the interface for the pedal monster. So what we'll do is we'll go into the menu button here. We're gonna go, I think, gauge layout. Nope. Gauge selection. That's not it. Banks modules, that's what I want. Pedal monster bank module, stock, trim, calibration. We have to calibrate the pedal monster. Proceed to calibration. Depress gas pedal completely. So we need to key it off, engine off, key on, gas pedal to the floor. You click OK. Release gas pedal completely, released. Depress completely, depressed. Release completely, released. And the pedal monster is now calibrated. So let's try to set up the gauge and the interface so we can control the pedal monster from the iDash. So we're going to go to gauge selection. Let's see, we'll do field 1. No, we're not gauge selection. I had to back out of that. It's going to be gauge layout. This gives us the option to run 2 gauges, 3, 4, 5 through 8 gauges on the screen. You can see how this one right here is set up for 2, 4, 6. This is 7 gauge right here. What we're gonna do is go past that, and we're gonna set up Pedal Monster. No, that's not the one I wanted. I want Pedal Monster Combo. There we go. So now I have Pedal Monster controls and gauges all on the same unit. So we can see we're in stock mode. If I dial this up, now we're in still city mode. It's our first tier of performance. Second is sport mode. Keep dialing it up. Track mode, this is where it gets scary. Now I've got it turned up all the way to track mode. What you're gonna see right here is gonna be a white bar and a red bar. And keep in mind these colors are all customizable, but I'm gonna apply some throttle, and the white bar is how much throttle I've applied. The red bar is gonna be the manipulated throttle signal that the Pedal Monster had created. So we give it a little bit of throttle here. Look at my input versus the actual commanded amount of input. So I can give this thing 20% throttle, and it's asking the ECM and the engine for 80% throttle. Now that's pretty wild, and I don't like to drive on track mode because it'll beat you to death. So we just timed out. We'll just let it run. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna dial that back, and I'm gonna run it on like City 2. That seems to be, that's a good mode to run into. We'll do, it's a hair above stock. I always introduce City 2 or City 4. That way the customers and the owners can kind of get used to the throttle change and the performance difference. Yeah, sport's a little aggressive. We'll back it down to City 4. And we'll let my guy kind of adjust it as he sees fit. Now we can see here that between the top gauge and our bottom gauge, we have a couple parameters that are duplicating each other. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go through and we're gonna select gauge selection. We're gonna select the gauges and change them. That way we don't have things done in duplicate. So I'm just trying to figure out something to put in here. We'll do speed, we'll put in vehicle speed. So now we've got mile per hour right here. I've duplicated that, so let's go to gauge selection number 2, category, speed and velocity. We'll do engine RPM. So now we have RPM and vehicle speed, and that bottom one right there, that's gonna be coolant temp sensor. So what we can do next is come up here. We'll go to our second gauge, and we can start to change parameters on gauge number 2. So we've already got speed, RPM, and coolant temp. Let's find, let's put battery voltage in there. I lost it. Voltage, there we go. Battery voltage. It was supposed to be gauge 1. I selected the wrong gauge. Gauge selection, gauge 1, category, voltage, battery voltage, there we go. So now we've got battery volts, and I'm just gonna go down the line and select different gauges. Ooh, ignition timing, we can put that one in, that's a good one. So now we got 20 degrees ignition timing on gauge number 2. Gauge selection, we'll go to number 3 next. Let's find some temperatures here. Ambient air temp. Do we have ambient air? 93 degrees outside, that's cool. 28% engine load, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Gauge 5 says voltage, so we're gonna change gauge 5 because we have it on there twice. What else can we do? Manifold temp, why not? That's available. So ambient air, manifold temp. See how manifold temp is slightly higher than ambient temp? That's because the engine has heat soaked. We've also got fuel level right here. I'll leave that one alone. And then gauge 7 is also ambient air, so we're gonna change gauge 7 to something else. Let's find vehicle performance, maybe. Calculated engine load, that one's already in there. Ignition timing advance, we have that one. And I'm certain that my customer is going to go through and select his own parameters for these gauges, but I just like to preliminarily set them up with something. We don't have boost pressure, sorry. Pressure ratio, evap system pressure, why not? There we go. And now we've got emissions pressure, which is actually in a negative right now. So yeah, my customer can go by, he can change the color of these gauges, he can change the bar graph colors, you can change the readout colors of the actual display figures. You can change, I think, the little colored bars that run across there. We can also change backlight settings, and we can change the backlights and the colors in the actual buttons themselves. So these things are fully customizable. Alrighty, finalized step. We've just got to put our back cover on. It means I need to take the remaining wires and just kind of fold them up and stuff them in here. Out of sight, out of mind. Put that one back right under there. Get in there, wire. There we go. Get all that stuff nice and tucked away. And we'll take our side cover here, line up the little clips. Beautimous, easy peasy, look at that. Nice, clean installation. So, let's go ahead and fire this thing up, and we're gonna back it out, take it out on a quick test drive, make sure everything's copacetic, and this job is complete. Oh, a couple little safety tips to note in case you guys are wondering. Should the throttle controller fail in any way, bad connection, faulty module, broken wire, anything like that, the vehicle and the pedal controller will revert back to normal stock operation. So it will not cause a malfunction that will put the vehicle in an uncontrollable situation, or scenario rather. Additionally, the throttle controller will not work when the vehicle is in reverse. And again, the reason that it knows it's in reverse is because it's actually pulling data from the OBD2 connector. The reason that feature is built in is you do not want to have a whole bunch of throttle gain if you're trying to back out of a parking lot at Walmart or something like that, because the thing will drive away from you and you wreck into some things. So it's got a couple safety features built in. So I would consider that to be very good engineering, because there are safety mechanisms built into this. So you get to have some performance, some pleasure, and you can do it safely without risk of accidentally wrecking into other things. That's also useful in case you give your vehicle to somebody to borrow and they're not familiar with it. It won't drive away from them. You know, one other feature that I should also be mentioning, let me throw this thing in park real quick. We can actually access, under the diagnostic menu right here, any OBD2 codes that are stored within the vehicle's ECM. So we check vehicle codes, it's checking. So this is basically acting as a single directional scan tool as well, where I can pull codes, and of course I can pull loads and loads of live data and display that in real time. No codes were found, very good. So let's see if there's any stored codes. Current cycle 32, don't know what that is. We'll hit a clear code. Clearing. There's no codes to clear, but we're just going to go through it anyway. So it can read and it can reset codes. That can be useful, like let's say you're working on your engine and you have some things disconnected, and then you go and key the thing on with something disconnected. It'll set a DTC and turn the check engine light on. Using your iDash, you can just go in and reset that code, and there is no problem, and you do not have to either go to a shop or to a parts store and get them to utilize their scan tool to just reset your check engine light. Quite useful if you do not have your own scan tool capability. So it serves multiple functions, and it looks super cool, and that's why we installed two. Anyway, let's go out on the road here, make sure this thing feels good, and we'll get her parked, and we'll be moving on to something else. Ruh-roh! Warning, I left the hood open. I guess when I closed it, I didn't latch it all the way. It's one of my biggest fears, is driving off and then having the hood fly open. Good, secondary latch got it. And I've done that before on my own vehicle. I used to have this Suburban back in the day. I was working on it, and when I closed the hood, I just kind of shut it, and I didn't latch it. I just sort of set the thing down. Well, I had forgotten that I left the hood open. Drove out, pulled out on the road, got up to about 45 miles an hour, and I saw it start to come up, and I hit the brakes, but once it came up, it had already caught the wind, and as soon as it moved and I saw what happened, whoosh, the thing flew back, wrapped around the windshield, broke the glass, bent the hinges on the hood, scared the bejesus out of me. I had to like drive out of the window Ace Ventura style and pull over into a parking lot because there was a hood wrapped around the front of my truck. It was not okay. Alrighty, checking left, checking right. Traffic's good, everybody's buttoned up, hood's closed. Let's ride. So yeah, what we're looking at here in our red gauge, that's actual throttle applied to the throttle body, and the white is my user effort on the pedal. That was effective. Yeah, I might need to turn it down. This one's real sensitive. That intake sounds super good too. I'm very pleased with how this build on this truck is coming along. I do believe we're going to do a high flow exhaust modification in the near future on this Tahoe. Oh yeah. Okay, good break in traffic here, and we're off. Yeah, this definitely takes away that throttle lag that's built in and designed with these fly-by-wire systems. Yeah, we're not getting any full speed out of it. Looks like we're in a heavy traffic day. Hello, shop. Man, I just left and I closed the gate and Cintas guy came in. Yeah, Lauren just left too, so I left the place unattended. Cintas, they do the uniform service for us, and they supply like hand soap and floor mats and things of that nature. Yeah, so far so good, no malfunctions. This throttle controller is acting as it should. It's behaving appropriately and properly. We've got it all set up. Again, this is all fully customizable, so if you don't like the blue or the white or any of the other color schemes, all that can be changed. I think there's like 9 different colors that can be utilized. Don't quote me on that one, I haven't gone in and checked, but there are multiple colors that that can be programmed in these. Additionally, they can be programmed with different colors, so I could have red buttons here and green buttons down there if I so chose. Anyway guys, I think that's gonna about bring this video to conclusion. Let me know what you think about these performance upgrades in the comment section down below. If this is something for you or something that you're potentially interested in, feel free to shop for Banks Performance products using my link down below inside of this video's description, and it will take you to bankspower.com, where you can peruse their wide array and selection of customized or custom built performance application components and products. Very good stuff. I like it, I use it, I run it. You don't have to. This is not a sales video. This is me performing work on my customer's vehicle that they elected to have done. No sales pushiness, nothing of that nature, no cheap Chinesium. Is what it is. All right guys, we're back at the shop. I do not believe I have anything more to offer you on this particular video other than a thank you for watching this video. Once again, if you are interested in perusing the Banks Power lineup for performance components that may fit your vehicle, please feel free to use the link down inside of this video's description yet again, which will take you to bankspower.com, where you can intuitively and easily enter your vehicle's information, and it will pull up all products and devices that are suitable for your application. Again, I'm not making you buy it and I'm not making you sell it. This is just some products that I offer here at my store, and the customer had requested these components to be installed today. No pushy sales tactics, no snake oil, nothing of that nature. That's just me doing what I do and my customers doing what they do. Before you guys go, I would like to take this opportunity to remind each and every one of you guys to not forget to have yourselves a fantastic day. Again, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for being here till the end. Thanks for your interactions on the channel. And thank you for being you. See you guys later in a video, into performance products, in a day, end of transmission, and powering down. Pew! See you later, Chevy Tahoe.